So this month's topic is, as I thought, was scary as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for everybody to maybe kickstart the topic, which is why are we concerned about the morality of AI weapons, which are unable to discern innocent from guilty kill targets, when we seem to have no problem with the atomic bomb, which never discriminates against about who it's killing. That's just a
But we
question.
do have problems with the atomic bomb because after World War II, we haven't used any more.
All right. My question is, what's the difference? What is it that makes AI moral issue different from the nuclear bomb moral issue? And I think until we answer that, maybe we're not focused on the real topic. Just a thought.
I think one of the problems is that even the guys that normally control weapons of this kind of magnitude now are also vulnerable.
I understand what you said, John.
Well, okay. Yeah, the development of AI process will make it possible to send missiles or other bombs in the old place just about by anyone. You don't need to be a very large country to be able to do that. In fact, is this Ukraine is doing it now and is dropping bombs well over 1,000 miles into Russia, and this they have been doing for some time. And the AI controlled missiles farther and more accurate, and face recognition is even possible. And they're saying that it's not going to be long, and we will be able to assassinate people right on the street if they walk there.
To answer
Already
your
doing that.
question, James, to answer your question, after the atomic bomb was dropped, there was a lot of concern, and so they put in treaties and so forth, um, discussing the ethics and the use of. In AI, they're being used now. There's a lot of wringing of hands about how it shouldn't be used, and there should be legal international guidelines. But it's just that the wringing of hands while the usage continues. So
Well,
the ethical implications are there but ignored.
I think a difference between the atom bomb or hydrogen bomb and AI is that AI is incremental. If you drop an atomic bomb, that's it, done. It's very clear that you violated the treaties and so forth. But with AI, it's an incremental thing. You can just launch one little quadcopter with a hand grenade, and that's using AI to locate and destroy a target. Or you can have a whole swarm of these drones, and they can carry even atomic bombs in theory. So there's quite a range with AI, whereas the atom bomb by itself was not incremental, it was final.
That's a
Okay.
really, really good point that gets the massive amount rather than the other. But something talking about moral, it brought back to mind maybe about 15 years ago, I went to Vietnam before and after a tour that I took, but I took a tour with Rhodes Scholar, and there were about 8 guys on that tour that had been in Vietnam before as GIs. And we met up with, we went to Coochie tunnels. We went here, we went there. We did a lot of the war stuff to see what it was like. But we met up with guys that were involved in trying to kill these guys and these guys trying to kill those guys. And that we had translators and a lot of what was said. And, they were saying how, if they had ever met each other, and could sit down and play cards or get to talk with them, they would never have been able to kill one another. And then it went off about how in the past, the fights that they would have would be with knives or with swords. And then the idea came up of, we were taught, don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes. And when you're close to one another, and you really have to hate that person to kill them. But if you're pushing a button and dropping a bomb, or if you're sending off an AI to identify somebody and kill them, or doing the swarms together, or whatever, it's no longer trench warfare where you're morally thinking, I can't kill this person. I see their face. I see him fearful, crying. It could be my son. It's just because we're puppets of these people on top that don't get along. Why should I carry out their dirty business? Morally, I see a big point
Except
there.
with AI, Susie, they're taking it to the next step where there is no human equation. The AI itself will make the determination whether to kill or not.
Yeah, that's
Right. It's not a Air Force guy in Nellis Air Force Base killing people in Afghanistan and Iraq and then going home to swim in his pool.
Bill, you had your hand up.
yeah. I was just going to reaffirm what you said. I think to get back to the initial question that the increasingly, I think the worry about AI and warfare is that at some point we're going to turn over the decision of who to attack and when to attack to machines, and leave out like even now, even though it's just the president, I don't know, that's pretty scary, but that humans have to decide whether to drop an atomic bomb. They're talking about, whether that could ever be turned over to artificial intelligence. So I think that's one of the biggest ethical issues is deciding, turning over the decision making to the machine.
So you're saying, I think consensus is that there is a major distinction between dropping the hydrogen bomb versus deploying AI weapons of whatever capability. Is that right?
Well,
Is that
no,
what we're saying?
I mean, I think turning over the decision to drop an atomic bomb to a machine is much different than turning over a drone attack on a building in Afghanistan to a machine. I mean, so I think that there's a matter of degree that's different, but the ethical question is similar, I think.
Okay, good.
No heart, no moral, no guilt.
Oh, but I do have to make one gripe because most people are murdered by people they know. So the business about the two people, if they knew each other, wouldn't kill each other, is not necessarily always operative. I think it's a
But,
major factor, but not always.
but certainly it's easier to kill at a distance.
Keaton, you got your hand up.
Yes. In response to Susie's remark, during the American Civil War, battles were fought during the day. At night, soldiers from both sides would get together and play cards and such. This is well known. So the notion that you won't kill somebody that you know certainly was not true during the Civil War.
That was true. And was it World War I or II where they got together on Christmas Eve and swapped?
World War One. Right.
World War One.
Yeah.
So is it the lack of guilt, Susie, we believe that there would be no guilt from an AI system to kill humans, and that humans would feel guilt for killing other humans?
Yeah, but I think we're so far past that right now that
Yes.
yeah, that was part of it. But I think that we as women would feel that. Like, I hate that line in the Mexican national anthem where they say how proud they are. They say how proud every woman is to be the mother of a soldier. I hate that line in their national
Well,
anthem. But I don't think that I, as a woman, would want my son to be a soldier and go out and kill. Uh, but that's a woman thing. I think men feel differently. So yeah, I'm going on the moral and that issue, but sometimes men and definitely an AI regime would not have guilt. would not
But,
feel
you
like.
know, there are lots of men who don't believe in killing too.
But quick sidebar, Susie, don't forget the Adelitas in the Mexican Revolution. The problem on AI is that AI can think faster than a human can and make decisions.
I think the real problem is the lack of control. They are approaching this thing as if it was an atom bomb, but it is not. It is there's no control. There's no way to keep control over that. You know, there's no one that is going to make an AI guided missile. Then it's going to be nice, picking the hands up and stand in line and say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do, and that's where I'm going to send it, and this is the time I'm going to do it." That's not going to work. The problem is there's no control. The other thing
But
is that if you say, "Well, we're going to have treaties and things like that," nobody trusts the other guy, and and that's another problem. So
yeah,
I think humanity has to become much more mature, and that's probably not going to happen. I hope.
Now, Keith, go ahead.
okay. Adding to what Bob said, it's not that the AI systems can act more quickly. It's in the case of swarms, there's really nothing that humans can do. They cannot shoot down hundreds of drones simultaneously that are attacking. So the only solution is to have AI on the defensive side to go after swarms of drones.
So it's kind of an escalation into AI is almost inevitable, is kind of what you're suggesting, Keaton.
Right. Every time you have a new weapon, there becomes a new counter weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would need the counter weapon of swarms controlled by AI to take out the swarms of drones attacking it.
Except the lasers work pretty well.
Yeah.
So AI running your lasers.
I find the most interesting part of the reading on this point was that the Chinese have gone public by saying they're opposed to a treaty that prevents development of AI, but they're okay with a treaty that makes it illegal to use AI weapons, which means what they're planning on is getting a really good system going and then break the don't use treaty.
Right, right.
It's that great big red sign saying, whoa, where are they? We know where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
Well, that is a typical example of distrust. And
Well, looking into the
I don't want to
future,
be cynical about this, but this is it.
Looking
We
into the-
don't trust each other.
Well, but
Looking at
they
the
won't let
future-
us trust them. What they're saying we want to do makes them untrustworthy.
Yeah,
But I think it's going to get a lot worse though, because AI is not just weapons system. Hate to get to another page on this, but they can do all these deep fakes. They can make them hate them even more and want to kill them even more and use AI weaponry by making, I don't know, let's go home. Okay, let's say like making Biden look like he's with a young boy and a pedophile and a pedophile and doing things and that's not really him, and then put that out there and everybody thinks it's horrible. I mean, they can. AI is it's all over. It's not just in this weaponry. It's going to be hard for us all to get along because we don't know what we can believe anymore.
Susie, you're right. Absolutely. There's
So-
going to be propaganda films like we had during World War II that will show the bad guys attacking whatever and, attacking the Kremlin if it's from the Russian side, or it'll show, Washington, D.C., the Pentagon attacked by the Russians or whatever. Absolutely.
So is there a difference between AI weaponry developed and used by autocratic society versus democracies. Would democracies actually be at a disadvantage here or not?
We are. We're already at a disadvantage. Right.
Because of
These are indeed fake.
And one of the things with AI is it's not just going to be national governments and big organizations using them. Drones and things like that are cheap enough that, insurgents and small groups can use them and can use them with very high degree of effectiveness.
Terrorists. There might be a few terrorists after this situation in Gaza, and I'll bet they'd like to use drones to many people, Americans, just Israelis. Anybody.
Well, the Israelis are already using AI for their targeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 points. 2 points. One, if you want to know the future of warfare, just look at what's happening in Ukraine.
Right.
2, if you want to again look at future of warfare, look at the facial recognition systems the Israelis are using to determine targets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't see any video with audio of Gaza without hearing the drones buzzing above.
Wow.
Well, I think the only solution is that we keep killing each other until last man is over, and then somebody says, well, maybe we ought to stop it because we're out of people.
Well, there have been plenty of movies about that. I think that's a little bit of the horror, is that we're in kind of the set of movies that we've seen, and we all, lots of endings that we've already seen come on our minds.
You think the Pandora's box is open and it's too late to go put it back?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
So the other one someone brought up about the democracies versus the autocratic systems. If you looked at the articles from the military aspect of it, you'll see that the U.S. government is highly involved in it.
Yeah, that right.
Of course.
Also, I found it interesting about the dogfights with the F-16s, that the robotic systems beat the pilot systems.
Yeah.
And the robotic system has a big advantage over the pilot system because the robots can pull more G's, so they can turn more sharply than those pilot.
Yeah, I read that same
They
thing.
have increased maneuverability that
Right.
is not allowed with a pilot.
Going back to what Keaton said, the only way to deal with AI warfare is to have the proper AI warfare defense. It's uncontrollable.
Well, what do you think the defense ought to be then? Unless it will be another AI.
Well, it's the AI arms race.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can call it that, because individuals can do it, and all you need is
the pie in the sky people are looking to the UN in September to have a discussion about treaties, and I think that's just pie in the sky and wringing of hands.
Yeah, but how is a treaty going to stop somebody from working out?
It's not like the atomic bomb situation where you can actually go in and verify. You can't verify on the AI.
No, because these things can be.
And as Richard said, insurgents, small groups can
Right.
use them. It's not just state actors.
Right, because to make an atomic bomb, you have to have a big infrastructure. You don't need to have big infrastructure to make an AI-controlled drone.
Correct.
Drones at 50,000 a pop that can go in and kill people are pretty cheap.
That's a
Yeah, one of the
fancy
articles
one.
said that said that the face recognition, to send a drone in with face recognition and kill, is a graduate student project, not, professionals in
That's
big
right.
companies. I mean, what if they had that, going after Pence or something, during the insurgents going into the Capitol building, just send one of those. Granted, everybody be whacking at it because it's an enclosed place, but just going after killing somebody, it seems like it's going to be so easy. I want to see something on my phone. I want to look at somebody. I go to photos, I go to search, I put in their name if I have them identified, and every photo of them is in there. It's not that hard to do face recognition
No.
and
Yeah,
say, kill this
and
person, find this person, kill him somehow, send something to him. And ooh,
and,
it's really
and you
I
horrible.
don't need
think
a you don't
I
need
think
something that can blow up. You just need something very small, mosquito size, with a lethal injection. So
Mhm.
swatting at it probably won't do any good, especially if there's 10,000.
I think the best thing to do is not to worry about it and get drunk and stay drunk.
I'm with that.
More
Bob,
wine.
is that a call for terminating this session?
No.
Everybody go out and get drunk?
It will be. It will be.
No, it's too early.
Where are you in Spain? You are in Spain, right?
I'm in the Catalonia, which, if you ask many of my neighbors, is not in Spain.
Yeah.
But yes, we're on the Iberian Peninsula
Oh, okay. Because
near Barcelona.
I know I had a friend who lives in Geltrú, just south, about 2 hours south of Barcelona.
Okay.
Well,
Your
anyway,
screen is supposed to get wet when you say that. Barcelona.
I didn't realize that.
You haven't been there long enough.
No, I guess.
Back to the topic.
Right.
What's the U.S. doing?
Well, don't you
Gotcha.
think the U.S. has these and they're trying them out with Israel and with the Ukraine? And those are like fields of experimentation away from North America right now?
Well,
Yeah, I think it's much like the Spanish Civil War, where the
Precisely.
next weapons of war are being tried out.
but still,
Yeah.
what the U.S. is doing at another level, the Air Force now has, I think, their Smart Wingman program or something, where they're developing the next generation of fighter jets, and the fighter jets control a number of drones around them, increasing the firepower and defensive power immensely over a single plane. So a single plane becomes a whole wing of fighters.
But we're making tremendous progress in the world with laser weapons that take out a whole bunch of stuff one
Right.
by one quickly.
You think that's progress?
It's progress toward your goal of getting us all killed. So yes, it's
right,
progress.
exactly.
It's progress towards defense. Yes. The
You know, I
lasers
was
are not weapons of attack, they're weapons of defense.
yeah.
You
When I
don't
was
use
reading the
lasers, you don't use lasers to shoot down your own aerial capacity.
yeah.
You use it to shoot down aerial capacity of others.
Or at least one of
Defense.
them.
Well, I think one of the things that struck me that when I was reading Bob's material that he sent is about these drones that can sort of linger in the sky, just hang around there, and then by themselves making a decision, to attack and destroy something on the ground. But they can be there for hours, and just you hang around there. God, I mean, this
More so with marine drones that can lie on the bottom for months.
I hadn't thought of that one.
I find it fascinating that there is an agreement internationally against the use of lasers on human for the eyesight. But I don't think there's anything that deals with the drones or other optics and lasers.
I found it fascinating in one of your articles where it said that during the medieval times they had an agreement that they couldn't kill or dismain horses.
Horses, right.
Yes.
You know, like, oh, well, that was nice. You know, somebody else can use the horse. The horse doesn't have a side. You know, this,
So one of the things the question is this: if Ukraine and Israel are basically laboratories for war, what have we
I
learned?
think so. I think
Like,
so.
for instance, tanks are no longer a viable instrument. What else have we learned about future battle strategies?
Probably the the capability of drones to upset the balance of power. In other words, if you're a weaker power,
Right.
with drone technology, you can cause a lot of damage to your opponent. So it gets back to that point about insurgent groups cheaply using drones. That the drones are very effective at certain kinds of retaliation.
So drones are good in asymmetric warfare.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Richard.
Yeah, I think the Houthis are a good example of that.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
I mean, I think we knew that, but I think the degree to which Ukraine's been able to penetrate into Russia and do significant damage to ships and power plants and things like that is an example of that.
Well, and the Ukrainians could have done much more damage, but we limited the deliveries of long-range missiles and drones.
Because we didn't want them to attack Russia.
Yeah, now we only see them beginning to use those sorts of weapons that have long range.
And
Yeah,
using them
they're
pretty effectively.
They're ignoring the U.S. dictates and sending them in 1,000 miles inside.
Yeah.
So do we care? Do we know who has this technology right now? Because Bob, you mentioned the Houthis, and I have a friend who was on an around the world uh, cruise, and they couldn't go to Dubai because the Houthis wouldn't let them through the Gulf
Red
of I
Sea,
forget
right.
what,
The Red
Suez
Sea.
Canal, and the Houthis are really big, and they're financed by the Iranians. And so
Yeah.
we're saying that now that if the Iranians are financing the Houthis and the Houthis are using drones, are big, if the US is big on this, and if so this is out there for a lot of people to have on various sides. Ooh, you're right. This is not like love will guide us. This is not Sunday service anymore. Ooh,
No,
No,
yucky.
Yeah.
yucky, good word.
Learned in Ukraine very clearly is that a spearhead with armored vehicles, tanks, armored personnel carriers, and so forth, doesn't work because massing your forces used to be very effective, but now it just makes it a very attractive target to the other side.
Mm.
The initial attack in Ukraine, it was a spearhead, and it was just such an inviting target for a bunch of drones.
Although ironically, the human wave using people as cannon fodder still does work if you have all the people that you want to get rid of.
Prisoners?
are right people you don't care about.
That's right. People you don't care about, just toss them into the front line.
Yeah, the far east of Russia.
Well, the Ukrainians
But one of the things also about the asymmetrical warfare with drones is you can have a drone that costs a few $1,000s destroy a warship that costs tens of millions of dollars. And, so the cost difference is enormous, and it also is one of the things I think that will change the use of these big weapon systems, because the big weapon systems become just big expensive targets.
So let's talk about aircraft carriers and naval power.
Well,
Do
I
these things
don't.
have a past, or do they have sophisticated enough defenses with their pickets and AI-controlled guns?
They've been
I
saying for a long time that the aircraft carriers were going to not be valid anymore, and yet they keep sticking around. So I don't know.
Where you can move a lot of
Aircraft carrier
forces.
today, the aircraft carrier today is a target that we intentionally place in harm's way with the dare. If you sink this ship, we will obliterate you. It's the dare factor now. They're not really very useful anymore.
Hmm.
So
Well-
where did you get that information?
Hmm?
Where did you get that information?
Well, I've deduced it from the way we've been deploying our aircraft carriers and what we do with our aircraft carriers once we've deployed them. For the last 5 years, at least, maybe a little longer, we've deployed aircraft carriers who have then done nothing but sit there like a great big fat target. Uh, and so I'm pretty sure that's what it's all about. The Chinese have had surface to sea missiles capable of sinking our uh, uh, aircraft carriers with no problem at all, and yet we keep sending aircraft carriers within range of those missiles. So it's a dare game.
Hmm.
So in the age of
Well-
AI, is it the myth of sea power then?
Excuse me?
In the age of AI, is this the myth of sea power? Keaton, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think that the aircraft carriers are for attacking countries that really are pretty defenseless. You send an aircraft carrier to Bangladesh or some other country that has no defenses to speak of as a threat. You bring out your big hammer and say, okay, I want you to do this or that. And I think that's basically what we're doing. We put an aircraft carrier where we want to put a threat.
Right. But as soon as Bangladesh gets some of them Chinese missiles, that's going to become moot
Yep.
very
Yep.
quickly.
Yep. But I don't see Kenya and Mozambique and so forth getting that level of defensive weapon anytime soon.
True.
I don't know. It seems that one way maybe would be if we could do this, form an organization that make it very clear just exactly what is happening and the danger humanity is facing. And if we do it in such a way that it's understood by everyone without thinking, maybe that way we get enough resistance.
But I think we ought to take off our short-term glasses and think about this long-term. I appreciate what Bob asked. What about navies? Are navies still, will they be useful in the future? We have navies are good for transporting stuff, but they're a bunch of targets.
Norman, you were shaking your head no a second ago. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, John's idea that everybody should get together and ban things was fine for the nuclear bombs, but doesn't work at all for artificial intelligence driven drones, because the smallest group in the world could have a substantial fleet of offensive AI powered drones.
Even
It'd be easy to hide them too. They're tiny.
Yeah, an
Right.
individual terrorist could set off a drone attack. One person buys
Right.
a DJI drone, kaboom.
Joyce, you're shaking your head.
No, I agree. And I was just thinking of all of the, like I had mentioned before, all the movies I've seen about that over the, time, all of these terrible end of the world movies where somebody sets off a nuclear weapon, destroys Washington, D.C., starts nuclear war. I mean, the endings are not good. And I don't know how any international regulation would work. International regulations that we have so far don't work. So I don't see why new ones would work any better.
So you think Skynet's a possibility in the Terminator movies?
I don't know, maybe.
Well, the original Skynet was the Doomsday Machine in Doctor Strangelove,
Right.
and we all see the problem with that. It's fairly obvious. You can't pre-program all the possibilities, and therefore you really don't. It's impossible to create a Doomsday Machine or a Skynet that is foolproof. We know that.
Except for AI starts to get closer because you don't have to program everything into it.
Well, that's the point. You don't know that's exactly the point. When AI becomes able to train itself and teach itself and create itself, you don't know what it's going to do.
And that point is pretty close.
Getting back to the ethics problem, I don't even understand how ethics enters into it because it's individual or state actions that people are going to do.
Well, that's what I meant is if everyone understands, everyone, from the truck driver and the baker and the grocery man to the politician, exactly what is at stake. The idea that if you have a knife and you stick it into somebody, that somebody dies. And so as a result, we don't do that as a rule. But so we do the same thing. If somebody, walks around with the idea of taking someone else out with an AI-controlled machine, then it still takes a little time to do that. And a mother or a father or a brother or a neighbor or somebody is going to find out and it's going to put a stop to it.
Norman?
No, that's a very nice scenario, John.
Well, what is the alternative?
Life is not like that. We have mentally deranged people in the U.S. using automatic weapons. Now, those are more detectable than drones. So the baker, the butcher, whatever, doesn't stop those and won't stop drones either.
Susie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, because you would know who did that, John and Norman. You would be able to identify who did it. I'm thinking even beyond, like with the AI being able to control the weather, to be able to seed clouds. I mean, they've been doing that for a long, long time. Who knows if what's happening in Florida and Oklahoma is really natural or if somebody did that? And then how would you even decide? You got 200 countries, so many factions within countries, so many different groups, this side or the other, and then all those crazies that are out there. Who knows if somebody comes up with something and can make weather that's so horrible that it takes out a whole town and like, okay, who did it? Who did it? It's not like, oh, this knife was purchased or gun was purchased by this person in this store and found next to him. How do we know who does what to take out whole areas?
The rule of diplomacy has always been mutual self-interest and finding out agreements with mutual self-interest. With AI, you don't have that.
It's what I said in the beginning. It's nobody trusts anybody else. As long as that's the case, we are doomed. It's just that. And but Norman said that what I suggest is not human behavior. It's true, not yet anyway. But we may have to go to that, or if we don't, then we're doomed. It's just that simple.
Well, do carry serial numbers. Every DJI drone has serial numbers. So after a drone attack, you may be able to find out who purchased it. It's not a total loss, but that's
I haven't seen many dead people do research like that.
The other issue I point out is that if only 1,000 Palestinians survive this genocide, there will be 1,000 terrorists out there. And that scares the bejesus out of me. If I'm American Airlines, I'm sure that they would like to blow up the plane I'm on.
Right.
Bill, did you have a further comment?
What a lovely thought.
Okay.
Okay. I still think that the idea of going to get drunk is maybe the best solution.
I hate to tell you, but it's like 7:15 here. No, 7:45, and it's a little early to go out and get drunk. 7:45 in the morning.
Oh, in the morning.
From the night before.
You're the dog, huh? Keaton?
The dog. Yep.
Oh yeah, sure. That's why I
Okay.
drink.
Hayden, as you know, the sun is going down somewhere in the world 24/7. Just pretend you're somewhere else.
I know the song. It must be
Oh,
five.
I like
Somewhere.
Anthony Bourdain's thought about
Beer
being
30.
slightly drunk with good friends. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, it still sounds like a good plan is to be happy every day, each day.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to hide your being scared. But I think we should try and find an intelligent solution. But I know that since people don't trust each other and countries don't trust each other, rules and regulations are not the answer. It has to be a human behavior thing.
Now, there's some guy I listened to, Bo of the Fifth Column, and he describes international relations as this international poker game where everybody's cheating.
Susie, you had your hand up?
Susie, yes.
I don't mean to take us to another place, but we have an election here in Mexico coming up for president, and we know that it's going to be a woman because it's two women running against each other, and then a guy that's way down there at the bottom. But it's going to be one or the other. And there's more and more countries around the world getting women. Do you feel that maybe because we're the nurturers, technically, kind of a little bit more so? Not black or white, but there's a lot of us in the gray field. But do you think possibly women in power may change things?
I hope
You got your
so.
hand up.
Don't.
No, I do not. I've had
We cry
female
easier with
bosses
death.
who were
Careful,
much
let Joyce
worse
speak. I can't hear you.
than any man I ever had. And I have a
Joyce,
sister in the
Joyce.
military, and she is every bit as woo-ha as the men in the military. So no, I
Joyce,
don't.
I couldn't hear you.
Let's
So
just
could
do
you
a
start
list
again?
of women. Let's do a quick
issue
list
here
of women
with
leaders. Golda Meir, Margaret Thatcher, Elizabeth I, almost, God bless us, God save us, Hillary Clinton. I can't think of a woman leader who was somebody I would consider nurturing.
The gal in New Zealand.
Right, that's the one I was thinking of
But-
too.
there's
Absolutely.
another issue. The leader has a large organization working for them that has a lot of momentum, bad momentum.
Yeah. Joyce, I couldn't hear what you had said. Can you repeat what you had said? There was
Oh,
too
I'm
much
sorry.
talking over.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think so. Well, for one thing, nice people don't make it to the top. And so the bosses that I've had who are at the top generally, who've been women, have been just as bad or worse as the men. And then my sister, who's in the Army, an officer in counterintelligence, is every bit as I said, woo-ha as the men. So no, I don't think the loving, nurturing women are going to make it to the top, as you said, of the women leaders who've been there. So I don't think it's going to make a difference.
I don't think it's nurturing. I think women have certain abilities, such as they're better communicators, and that may make the difference. And I was going to cite the Prime Minister in New Zealand as well. But we have women leaders in the Baltic states. I forget whether it's Lithuania, Estonia, or Latvia. There are a lot up there in the northern areas. And they seem to do a pretty good job. As they say, there are other characteristics, not the nurturing so much as communicating. And I think that it's pretty well known that women are better communicators.
Bill?
Yeah, I was just going to say that back in the 70s, Carol Gilligan wrote a famous book about In a Different Voice, did a lot of research where men and women look at ethics in different ways. So if there were enough women in the cabinet or in the or in power, I think the problem now is where you're one woman and was surrounded by a bunch of men, you have to prove yourself, and you kind of have to develop a male-like approach. But I think if there were enough women, I think the research of Carol Gilligan is still true, and it relates to what Keaton was saying about that they're better communicators, but they also look at the world. I mean, and I see this in my life, that they can look at many sides of an issue, and sometimes their ethical decisions are more nuanced and sometimes more sophisticated. But I think you need enough women to be working together. I mean, having just one or two women surrounded by a bunch of men.
So how do we get this critical mass? I think that's a very good point. How do we create this critical mass? Maybe that could be a topic of a Zoom discussion.
Elect more.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Mm.
That'd be an interesting subject.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to our leader, but I think it would be a lot of fun to have this group brainstorm how we get a critical mass of women leaders.
I'll put that down for August because I've got June and July already picked out.
Great. Perfect.
Well, I won't be there then. I'll be in Curacao, I think.
That's a nice place.
Yeah, so I had some family there. I used to.
Bring back some blue curacao for us all to drink.
Right. It's a Dutch island. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Phillies.
Aruba and Bonaire as well.
Mhm.
So we seem to kick
The
this
ABC Islands. Yeah.
off. The
I was
ABC
there
Islands,
long
yeah.
ago. Yeah.
Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao.
Right.
Yeah, we seem to kick this side around a bit. Any final thoughts? Richard, we'll start with you.
Nope.
Bill?
No, just it's difficult to be optimistic about this.
Keaton?
Yeah, I share his opinion. It's difficult to be optimistic about this. I'm just scared out of my wits of any Palestinians that survived the genocide, because they're going to be terrorists for sure, and they're going to target Americans, American airlines, American cruise ships. God knows, it's going to be really bad.
John?
Well, I think if there is a solution anywhere, it has to be a change in human behavior, and I can't see that.
Joyce?
I'm with you, Norman, as far as that's good.
I agree with John. I think you really do have to change human behavior. I don't know how that's possible in a way that we would like, without the kind of control that's starting in China, where they control and watch what everybody's doing all the time. I don't think we would want to live in that society. So it is difficult to be positive about this.
Norman?
Yeah, it's clear that the most defensive weapons are really quite necessary. There's not another alternative.
Susie?
UUs need to become more evangelical and get more UUs throughout the world that understand the interconnected web of all life and have more heart and compassion for everyone and everything.
We'll probably get
Maybe.
too.
Or just get drunk and screw.
Yeah.
Why don't one or the other, whichever. It's pretty hopeless. It's scary, like you said, your first words. You're right. It's scary.
James?
I'm always a believer that if every individual creates a little pocket of peace around them, inevitably human behavior will be subdued. The problem is getting enough people to do that. And that's exactly what these groups are all about. We're little seedlings of people who are trying to create love and peace and joy and empathy within our home and our neighborhood. So as long as we keep trying to do that, there's nothing more we can do or even should realistically try to do.
I think that the naysayers, and that's just about all I would say, is small percentage, like 99 and 7/8. They are the ones that we have to fight, which is mean everyone else. So I don't know. I think the get drunk solution is the best.
But temporary. Tomorrow it'll be there again.
And
We'll have to test that.
not if you drink enough, Susie.
Don't stop
So next month,
drinking for tomorrow.
so next month we're going to have a little fun. We're not going to be as serious in some part of the topic. We are in part, it's part of it not. The description is: are we truly alone in this vast universe, or is intelligent extraterrestrial life out there waiting to be discovered? This discussion will delve into the Fermi's paradox, the ongoing search for extraterrestrial intelligence, as in SETI, the controversial subject of UFOs, and critically examine ancient alien theories and the pseudoscientific claims made to support them, contrasting them with the skeptical, evidence-based approach advocated by science. It should be a lot of fun. I've included a wonderful video by John Oliver looking at UFOs, which is hilarious, that you'll all enjoy. So we will halfway seriously look at the subject, but on the other half, let's have some fun discussing it too.
Great
Something
topic.
a little lighter would be nice.
Yeah, it is a little lighter.
Well, this was an interesting subject, though. Something it opened my eyes anyway.
Yeah.
To,
Unfortunately, Heather in Puerto Vallarta couldn't join us. She kept trying, but there was something problem with her computer.
Yeah.
So hopefully, Richard, when you get the YouTube up, I'll send it to her.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
anyway.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
See
you.
you all later.
Adios.
James, I wanted to ask you before you go.
Yes.
I just noticed that there's a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Girona.